What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for ReZero Season 2. This is episode 21. With me, as always, I have Bluespade.
So we pretty much got another long episode. It's like 30 minutes long again. However, this time...
they've all been that way.
Yeah, I mean, but, with the exception that we got it, got the opening again, for about at least a couple minutes. But overall, I think this is a decent build-up to pretty much the final set of episodes that are coming out over the next, I would say, the next month or so.
Yeah.
So pretty much the episode starts off with Subaru, Garfield, and Otto getting ready to leave to go back to the mansion, and of course he didn't think that he was going to have to bring Garfield along with him because he thought that he wouldn't be allowed out of the sanctuary, but he was surprised when he literally found out from Garfield that he's half human and half demi-human or something like that.
Yeah, because he has mixed blood, he can actually pass through the barrier.
Yeah, I mean, and Subaru was surprised. It's like, why didn't he tell him this earlier? And maybe it would have saved him the trouble. But of course, we don't really get that answer.
I guess I could say because earlier Garfield was still conflicted, was had unresolved feelings about the sanctuary itself and didn't want to leave before he faced his trial of the past.
Yeah. So, but yeah, overall, they do eventually end up leaving the sanctuary to head to the mansion, but not before telling Rom where they were going, and pretty much to help relay a message to Emilia when she was done with her first part of her trial.
And Subaru also hands off a crystal to Rom. I think it's the same crystal I think it's the same one he inserted into Garfield when he was when they had that fight.
Yeah,
it's the blue crystal.
Yeah, and of course, they also ask Rom to do something while they're away, and of course we don't find out until later. So Rom eventually goes to the tomb where Emilia completed her trial. That's where we saw her end in what was it, in that last episode, or was the episode before that?
It was the last episode.
Okay, so Rom just pretty much tells Emilia the situation of where Subaru and the others went. Is, of course, they went back to the mansion, but she also tells Emilia to do her a favor, is to help Roswaal get out of his delusional state, and his pretty much his mad endeavor to I guess
his obsession with Echidna, I'm assuming, is what she's referring to, because she specifically says his delusions about the witch.
Yeah, it's pretty much getting the better of him at this point and making him stubborn, like we saw him with his confrontation with Subaru in the last episode.
Yeah, but as we know, this is also an obsession he's had for a very long time, ever since that flashback, which I think was 400 or so years ago.
Yeah, and of course, Roswaal all of a sudden shows up and probably has been eavesdropping on the conversation as well, and pretty much tries to talk down Emilia from from completing her mission, saying that it's all for nothing, and then pretty much Subaru's love for her isn't real, that he's just only pretty much doting on her for just for his own personal reasons, like he did with Echidna centuries ago.
Yeah, and Emilia refutes that by saying that what Subaru told her, the things that annoyed him about her, and Roswaal actually didn't expect to hear that Subaru said something like that.
Yeah, saying that that Emilia was more of a quote unquote pain in the ass towards him for pretty much the way she was acting, and for her naivete and stuff. But she pretty much talks Roswaal down, saying that both he and Subaru are not the same kind of people. I mean, they have similar goals, but they are not the same.
Yeah, Roswaal did mention in the last episode that he felt that him and Subaru were the same, and Subaru didn't. I don't think he necessarily like refuted that, but he said that he values feelings or something like that more so than Roswaal does.
Yeah,
and I guess he said that was like the main difference between the two of them.
Yeah, but of course, like she's pretty much like telling off Roswaal in Subaru's place in a way, just because like Subaru like didn't I guess he didn't have time, or maybe didn't have an explanation himself to pretty much refute Roswaal's explanations of about why he's doing what he's doing.
I mean, he kind of did in the last episode, but yeah, I mean, it probably was also that he doesn't have a lot of time either. Because as we know, like, Roswaal's not going to call off the assassins.
Yeah.
So Subaru has to go deal with that.
So yeah, but of course, like, this was a pretty big episode for Amelia, just standing up for herself for pretty much for the first time, this entire season, because we just pretty much see her down all the time, but not now, like, with Subaru, like, giving her confidence, like she this is the first time we actually see her, like, standing on her 2 feet for the first time.
Yeah, we've actually seen her develop quite a bit as a character over the the past, I want to say 4, maybe 5 episodes or so. Like, just because she's had to deal with her memories of the past and confront her past in the trial of the past. So now it seems like she has more confidence in herself and isn't as ready to sort of like give up the way she kind of used to, I guess. Here, and it makes more sense too, because she couldn't remember what happened to her before.
Yeah, but of course, like, eventually she tells Rom to pretty much look after things while she completes her 2 remaining trials. Then of course, as soon as she goes in, Roswaal tells Rom to stay here until like Amelia finishes the rest of her trials. But of course, we find out she disobeys that order, and instead she follows Roswaal back into the back to where Ryuzu's located at.
Yeah. I think it's called the replication facility or something.
Yeah, and of course we find out that of course Roswaal is up to no good, and we find out that he's gonna end up using the crystal to use as a catalyst to change the weather and engulf like the entire sanctuary under snow, and that would bring like the Great Rabbit over to the sanctuary and pretty much kill everyone there.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure, like, until this point in the story, like, well, first of all, I wasn't sure how the Great Rabbit, or the snow, came to the sanctuary, but now we know it's because of Roswaal using the crystal as a catalyst to cast what Rom calls like great magic to make the snow fall and I guess attract the Great Rabbit. I actually did not realize that Roswaal was the one responsible for this as well. When I read the story, I thought it could have been some kind of an outside influence, but I guess this really does kind of solidify Roswaal as being like the main villain, really, of like this entire arc, because he's responsible for both the tragedy at the sanctuary as well as what's going to happen at the mansion too. So he's kind of behind everything, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to what he told Amelia, that that her trials are all for nothing, that this world is already at an end, including Subaru's mission. Yeah.
And really, when you think about it, it's possibly more than just that too, because it seems like he's been pulling the strings for a lot of what's been happening in the story so far.
Yeah, and he also reveals that he was the one who ended up destroying Ram and Ram's village.
That kind of shocked me when I read that, honestly. Like, I didn't. What shocked me even more was that do you think that Ram, like, was she? Do you think she was just pretending the whole time, and she was like biding her time until she could like get back at Roswaal for what he did?
Yeah,
because I think that's
I mean,
I think that's what that was implying.
It makes sense, because like she at times, like, she looked like she was more protective over Roswaal on several occasions, but it was mostly due to her like trying to curry favor with Roswaal to get close to him. So now she's like trying to pay back the favor for what Roswaal did over the years.
Yeah, like he says he's partially responsible for the village's destruction. I mean, I'm assuming the Witch Cult also had a hand in that too, as we know from season 1. But I'm kind of curious as to what Roswaal had to do with it and why exactly he destroyed the village.
Yeah, I mean...
but I'm guessing we won't get any answers to that until potentially if there ever is a season 3 or sometime later on in the story.
Yeah, I mean, well, pretty much like you said, he's been pulling the strings like the entirety, like since this, the show started. He pretty much...
And I think he also mentioned he was responsible for her horn being cut off.
Yeah.
Or something.
That too. It's like pretty much one factor that, that was the cause of it. But like I said, or like Roswaal, not just this incident, but the time when he also hired Elsa to assassinate. He hired Elsa back in season 1 during that incident before Subaru stopped it, and of course he allowed the Witch Cult to attack the mansion back in the second half of season.
I don't know if it's 100% confirmed he was involved with what happened in the beginning of the story, but it is, at least in the novel, it's implied that Subaru wonders if Roswaal also had a hand in that too, which I would not be surprised if he did.
Yeah, I mean, but based on what he's been up to, like for the past, pretty much this past season, this arc in particular, it's becoming more clear that he's been pulling the strings most of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Rom, of course, pulls out a wand and prepares to find him, but she also pulls out the same crystal that I think it was either Otto or is either Subaru who gave it to her, and it's
Subaru gave it to her.
And of course it's revealed that.
I actually before this we actually missed something. There was another flashback. There was a flashback with speaking of Otto, with Otto meeting up with Rom, and this is before everything that happened with Garfield. That they basically the two of them make a deal. Otto asks for Rom's help, but Rom has 3 conditions or something. The first of which I think she said she wanted to deal with Garfield in her own way or something, and I forget what the other 2 were, but basically that was how she agreed to help out Subaru and Otto.
Yeah, but eventually pretty up to that point things have been playing along up to where we are right now. So yeah, like I said, Rom pulls out the exact same crystal that was given to her, and it's revealed that Puck was also in that crystal, and they're pretty much ready to fight against Roswaal at that moment, and that's pretty much where we got up until the end of the episode.
Yeah. And then of course we finally get back to the mansion again,
and of course we see Petra just running away from Elsa, but she notices that Rem is still in a room, so she tries to go back to save her, but of course Elsa ends up catching up to her and is about to kill her. But before that happens, of course, Frederica stops her from doing so and tells Petra to run away. And while that's happening, Petra's still petrified. It's of what's been going on. She pretty much cries down for help of whether or not Super will.
Well, first she tries to find Beatrice.
Oh yeah, but she can't find her because it's pretty difficult to find Beatrice because you can't tell which door to open at any parts of the mansion because it can appear anywhere.
Yeah, I think she has to let you find her because she otherwise won't. She won't let you find her unless she wants to be found.
Yeah, but eventually Subaru does eventually show up with the others, and that's of course where we find Garfield showing up to help out Frederica fight against Elsa in the end.
We should also mention that in the beginning of this episode, Garfield receives these he calls them shields, but they look more like gauntlets that he wears on his arms. That he got these. I forget where he gets them from, but yeah, I think he mentioned to Frederica it was something that the 2 of them had as children. So I guess it was something he's always had. But he uses this in his fight against Elsa.
You think it's something that was given to them by their mother or their father? Or
I'm not sure. They don't reveal where they got it from. They just, like Garfield, I mentioned in passing to Frederica, it's something I guess they played with as children or something. So I'm assuming Garfield's had it, but I just don't know where he got it from.
Yeah, but of course, Garfield says that that he'll deal with Elsa by himself while he asks Frederica to recover Rem whenever she gets an opening. So, but yeah, that's pretty much where we ended off from there. But of course, the final scene we get to see is Subaru entering Beatrice's library again, and that's pretty much the end of that episode.
I'm wondering how Subaru is going to get Beatrice to actually leave or like help her or anything, because he's tried this before and it didn't work.
Well, will he
possibly now, because the only difference now is that he knows about Ryuzu's past, and I'm assuming he could use that somehow to convince her to leave. Although I'm not exactly sure how.
I think that could. Yeah. I think that could work. I mean, he tried to use Roswell's suggestion in order to convince her, but it clearly didn't work in that one-time loop. But it looks like he'll find some way to convince her now that he knows the full story of what happened at the sanctuary.
Yeah, that could be what the key is to convincing her to actually help him, because and I'm assuming the opening probably gives this away if it's not something that's just in the opening specifically, but as we know, the two of them are probably going to show up back in the sanctuary. Probably by that time, I'm guessing Roswell had the snow cover the sanctuary and the rabbits showed up. Although I'm not sure if the rabbits really hopefully the rabbits hadn't killed anybody by that point, but hopefully they actually get there in time before the rabbits do anything.
Yeah. But yeah, we are really close to the end of this season, and I think there may be this is the 21st episode, so either we got at least
so part 2 is confirmed to have 12 episodes. The first part, as we know, had 13, so this part will have 12.
Mm-hmm. We would have maybe at least 4 more episodes left, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a long wait for us to watch this. The finale after everything that's happened over the past year. I mean, technically, we would have gotten this finale by, I think, by late last year. I think. I mean that.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, they pretty much confirmed it would have been done by now.
Yeah, I mean, their original intention was to release both cores continuously instead of having this
having a break,
3 to 4 month break in between. But because of what's been going on, they had to postpone it and put the development team safety first.
Right. But this was this was definitely a great episode, and it's pretty much at the point where I've read up to in the light novels. So next week we'll pretty much be getting into stuff I haven't read yet, because I actually haven't gotten the last volume that covers Arc 4. So this is pretty much where I stopped reading. I'm not exactly sure what to expect next, but I'm definitely interested in what's going to happen in the next episode. I kind of like that I'm going into the next episode sort of blind in a way, because I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. I've known what's going to happen up until this point. But now I have no idea what's going to happen. So I'm definitely interested to see whatever's going to happen next. I'm crossing my fingers that by the end of this season we'll maybe get some kind of announcement for season 3 sometime in the future. Because as we've said, they've already in the source material they've already gone through arcs 5 and 6. So now they're covering Arc 7. Mm-hmm. So there's plenty of material for another season. As we've also mentioned before, there's the EX novels as well, so they could always do an OVA or a movie or something like they did with the Frozen Bond. So there's plenty of stuff they could still do with ReZero after this is over.
I mean, anything, I think Well, personally for me, I would prefer them to adapt the X novels first, just so they can give the writers a little bit more time to, to work on more material for the original story, rather than having to, to rush another season and then like until that ends, they'll probably hold it off for whatever how long. So I think it's better if they just hold it off just a little bit. I mean, in terms of like, for season 1, I think we didn't have like, another season for about 4 years, because that's where like their original source material reached up to that point. So they didn't have enough material to make a season 2 at that time. But yeah, so personally, like if they do,
I would say that was a little bit different just because, like you said, they didn't have enough source material, but they definitely have, at this point, they have plenty, I would think.
Yeah. I agree. Like right now they could make at least, they have enough material to make another season, but I mean, but for me, like I would rather them having to, develop, like, adapt like some of the side stories to, give us some more world building, about the world of Lagunica and all this other stuff, and the history of all the other side characters that Subaru's met over the years.
Yeah, because I don't know how much they really get covered in the main story, but there are other side characters that we, get the backstory to in the X novels, such as Crush, Wilhelm, some of the other knights like Julius,
Reinhard, and
Reinhard.
So, we'll have to see like what happens by the end of this season. I did hear like there's a 1 year time skip in between arcs 4 and 5, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see like what's going to happen around that time.
Yeah. So I don't really have too much else to say about this episode. I thought it was another great episode, and also another long episode, which I like that it's as long as it is. But I don't have much else to say. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
We'll have to see what happens over the next month. I think like I said, we have at least 4 more episodes. Like that's pretty much going to be the entire span of March at this point.
Yeah. So that all being said, until next Wednesday, we will see you all next time.